to the game. What happened with the community for AOMTC? Yeah, there is a community. It's smaller than Age of Empires 2, the Conquerors, but there is a community of active players on Voobly, and there is a clan league for it in the RTS league. So check out the links that are on the overlay. Actually, you might be able to catch up with some previously casted games from AOT on there. But yeah, focusing in on this final game of the group stage in this group in the RTS League for AOC. It's currently ByT 0 BF1, and that reminds me that I need to update the score, so let me quickly do that. We just saw the Black Forest clan take their home map, which was Migration, and the upshot of that is that they are through to the next round. This upcoming game is going to be the home map of ByT, and they're just playing for pride at this point, or possibly to influence the next matchup. Because I don't know who they're friends with or whatever, and maybe they want to try and get a different clan to face BF or whatever. But for BF, they need to win this game to go through as a second seed rather than a third seed, is what they've just told me in the lobby. Going to be double Arabia, interesting choice, and something you don't see in team games very often at all. All players starting with 2 town centres and having to do twice the work in Dark Age. That's a weird looking gold mine there. And we are seeing civilization differences here. We've got Huns, Mongols and Chinese versus Huns, Chinese and Persians. So no Mongols for the BF clan, and no Persians for ByT. Chinese obviously pretty essential pick here. Chinese and Huns, actually, 2 of the commonly seen, or pretty much the only ones that you see when players play 1v1 double Arabia in tournaments. So it was really all about the third civ, and yeah, I think the BF team fancying the just sort of mass knights approach that you often see on double Arabia by going for another heavy knight ultimately into paladin civ like Persians, whereas Cambridge with the Mongols just favouring that overall late game powerhouse. It's not like the Mongols can't do awesome knights in the Castle Age as well, but obviously their cavaliers are really rather weak and missing the paladin upgrade compared to the very powerful Persian paladins. But Elite Mangudai might have something to say if you were thinking of writing them off as an inferior choice in this situation. Let's have a look at the civilization positions. Mongols are actually going to be on the flank against Huns. Then the pocket for ByT in the north is going to be Hun pocket, which is pretty damned amazing. And then Chinese pocket down here. In fact, every civ on this map is a very good pocket civ. So it's not going to be tremendously impactful, maybe. And all of them are able to do bloodline knights, which is so important on double Arabia. Finally, J squared in the teal playing the Persian flank, and 1-in-1 Chinese playing in blue. I suppose that something to note as well is that ByT do have 2 camel civs available, with the Mongols having that option. But actually, what am I on about? They've both got 2 camel civs available, so a brief brain freeze there. But I'm going to be interested to see how ByT play this, because Poxo said to me yesterday, "Oh, we've got an interesting home map prepared," and certainly was an interesting choice. But I'd love to see how much they're actually going to demonstrate proficiency at double Arabia, because it is difficult to play. You do need a certain level of multitasking and skill level to really pull it off. But I wonder if they've got any coordinated strategies up their sleeve. Let's just take a look at village accounts right now to see how well players are adjusting to the map. You'd expect to see Chinese in the lead right now. 38 and 39 suggests the two Chinese players have adapted pretty evenly to the opening start. And then Mongols versus Persians. Cambridge is a little bit ahead. Obviously, when you're trying to run two TCs on the Dark Age, then really fast hunting is nice. And it might have been that at some point J Squared lacked a bit of food to keep two TCs running. And Hun players both even on around 38. Poxo just a tiny little bit ahead, so not a big difference between the two teams. Seems on the whole that I think it's even actually. Cambridge Mongol flank on the left hand side was one of the first up, along with actually the pocket for Black Forest HJ. Really interesting to note that the pocket is the first one up for the Black Forest team, but I suppose with the double Arabia situation, the fact that he's Chinese, that tends to explain it, and almost everyone will be going up on 40 odd villagers anyway, so there's no reason really, unless a flank was deliberately targeting going up on less villagers than the sort of standard 40-ish you see on double TC maps. Unless they're deliberately trying to do a fast rush, then there's no reason that a pocket shouldn't go up as fast or faster really than the flanks on this map. It's going to be incredibly hard to keep track of everything that's actually going on. With the two scouts in play per player, there's lots of potential for villagers to start getting picked off, especially once they get to the feudal age and get their attack and speed bonus. These deer villagers would be prime examples of targets for these two once one in one hits feudal age, but he's not really in the right position to do any picks. Mongols have been up for ages now on the left hand side, and it's going to be a straight fast castle for them. But depending on how much food in the bank, maybe it's advantageous to do a few scouts whilst you're on the way, a few extra scouts. Really unsure through not seeing this being played before in a team game scenario, but seems like Cambridge not particularly interested. He doesn't have a big bank of food, and it's probably much more important and beneficial to be getting in those all-important feudal age upgrades and saving some food to run night production in the castle age, as well as the two TCs that you have to continue to do as well. Some Xing going on down here, and that's because we do see some scouts grouping up to try and pick off vills. See two dead vills for J Squared, and J Squared has lost both his scouts here, which means Poxo, if he didn't have his scouts on stand ground, there we go, can group up with Monemon, and they've got 3 scouts in this area to potentially get at least one more villager. And really, if Poxo was actually awake with his scouts, they could get 1 or 2 more, but these guys won't be able to take that deer. They'll have to run home, and that's actually quite nice for a nice little victory for ByT, because that's a lot of free fast food, which would be so great for J Squared, because he's going to have to run 2 increasingly speedy Persian TCs as he goes up to the castle age, which it looks like he hasn't clicked, so maybe he is struggling. We saw him on the lowest villager numbers a little while ago. He's sort of catching up now, and actually it's Cambridge with the lowest numbers. But yeah, it seems that he really could have done with that food from the deer, because he's not yet clicked up to the castle age, being now he's going, but up to that point he was the only player on the map who hadn't clicked up to the castle age, and a minute and a half later than the next slowest player. So clear delay for J Squared, whilst not even having that higher population at this point. Not built any military. And ByT with a small but early advantage. Left hand side, 2 stables are now out for Cambridge, and he's got quite a sizable advantage over his opponent really, because he's only now hitting castle age. He's not going to get the quick wall, and those knights are going to get in there and create an absolute bloodbath. Quark has to run a lot of vills now, and he'll lose a lot of them in the process. They're not even doing a very good job of running. Get out of there! Some sneaky ninjas going around the oasis to try and get away, but they'll still have to cross the knights to actually get into the TC. And really nice quick raid by Cambridge there, but he's still 5 villagers behind purple, so the fast uptime, doing a lot of damage with it, but it doesn't give him an overall villager lead at this point. There was some Xing and maybe a red dot or two around here. It doesn't look like too much has happened. Quark trying to recover from that setback and get some extra TCs up to increase his villager production. Definitely a military advantage for Cambridge over on the left hand side, and this very forward purple TC. All of the economy around it, apart from the farms that are underneath the TC, suffering a lot of pressure. Is that a monastery? No, it's a barracks. So Han's going to go with double barracks pikeman defense to try and equalise the deficit against the red player. Meanwhile, right hand side, J Squared is in the castle age now, but his attempts to create a full wall off around him have been futile. Obviously, palisade walls are like paper to a few knights, unless a villager comes over and quickly re-walls behind, and that's about to be a lot of knights, bloodlines at +1 pouring in through J Squared's wall. But he's putting all his resources into camels and spearmen to try and counteract those knights right now, and I fancy him to defend here. Still got 2 scables pumping camels very quickly, and should hold the line. However, he's 14 villagers behind his direct opponent, which isn't a great situation to be in, and it's sort of unusual situation to be in when you're Persians, but obviously Chinese just do so well on Double Arabia. A little bit of raiding by El Quark, and he's actually taken 1 down to the low 50s in villagers, so for all the damage that red has done to purple, he's really not ahead in terms of population, although the military advantage is quite sizable, and it does mean that he can just continue to get some kills here and there. Still, 1, 2, 3, 4 TCs versus... oh yeah, 4 TCs for red as well, so he's doing alright. And now, is that the Hun player wanting to make... she's just laid down 3 archery ranges. I thought he was going cav archer transition, which would have been perhaps unusual. But it's just going to be 1 extra stable instead. Loads of blue knights into J Squared's wood lines here. These guys had to quick wall and now standing idle. J Squared got about to be down to 50 odd villagers, or potentially even less now. I did think that that combination of camels and spearmen might have held, but how are the upgrades? Bloodlines +1/+1? Bloodlines +1/+1? I'm kind of surprised that the teal player isn't managing to take a bit better fights and make it so that there are slightly less knights in his base. He's actually got a horrendous kill to death ratio. Obviously some of that is villager losses. I guess maybe the upgrades came in later, and that ended up being quite important. Also, I think blue did get a little bit better with the hill bonus when they had a sizable scuffle there. Just horns blaring out all over the maps now. It's really difficult to keep track of all the action. No players up to the Imperial Age just yet, but why should they be there? Pumping from multiple stables and TCs, and it's only 21 minutes. Feels like we're at a slightly later stage of the game than that, and I guess that's the deceptiveness of the double TC start. Poxo getting +2 armor now. We've seen quite a lot of +1 knights, but I haven't seen anyone that I've clicked on that had +2 done just yet. Monemon's getting it too, so that's going to give him a little boost in the fight against all the counter units J Squared's producing. Still only +1/+1 for him. But yeah, Poxo's getting ready to land a hammer blow on somebody. He's boomed up nicely. He's on 100 vils. He's dropping down stables. He's getting all the upgrades +2 husbandry to race charge across the map, and he's going to flood somebody. Remains to be seen whether that's the opposing pocket, Philip HJS, or whether he's going to go and double J Squared together with Monemon and just wipe Teal off the map. On the left hand side, El Quark is now surpassing Cambridge in the boom by a sizable villager amount, but he is playing pure pikeman to defend at the moment, so he has very little ability to actually go out and hit his opponent. We saw some effective knight raiding under Cambridge's TCs, but that has stopped now, and he's only got pikemen. Not entirely sure what Monemon's Xing there. Maybe it's an accidental one. I do tend to do those myself. Depends how you've got your hotkeys set up. Yeah, it looks like Monemon transition mostly into camels now. +2/+2. That's going to be a big deal. If Boxer's coming over here with +2 done, and blue is playing +2/+2 versus teal +1/+1, that's going to be a massacre. But looks like Poxo will continue to focus his attentions on the opposing pocket for now, and it's a really good area to hit because the Chinese player, no, it's not Chinese, yes he is Chinese, Civ, he's laid down so many farms in this area, built a mill, invested hundreds of wood in all this, and not able to get any villagers working there, and then pulling villagers off the wood line as well to deal with the interlopers. And over here as well, so many farmers being idle. The knights underneath the TC barely caring. That's TC with just fletching at this point. The Poxo applying enormous pressure to his opposing pocket now, and even though he's Huns and the pocket is Chinese, he's 20 villages ahead and about 8 or so military as well. Left hand side, red and purple. Looks like El Quark in the purple colour. Said he'd only got pikemen, but it's going to be sort of pikemen and rams push, which can work really well whilst the enemies are not adding in anything other than stable units. A few monks can convert a few pikemen, but as long as you've got the numbers and the production continuing to stream in, converting a pikeman, not that big a win. Monks though may choose to target these knights if they stray within range. I just feel like purple does need a couple more pikemen here at least though to feel like he can really push. Rams really being added en masse though, and units going down very fast. Looks like Cambridge getting siege workshop up behind because he's decided he wants a mangonel. I think if he had a mangonel right here, he'd be able to deflect this attack very successfully, I think, landing down hill bonus shots on the roof of the rams and onto the pikemen that are massed up there. But yeah, red's going for it, and like I said, I felt like purple didn't quite have enough numbers, but actually he's completely missed micro those red knights there. He had like 6 knights and they were all just running around getting stabbed by the pikes and not fighting back, taking humongous damage, and a few more pikemen being produced from Quark, and now the table turned really quickly there. For a moment it looked like all the pikemen were being cleaned up, but all of a sudden red is in full retreat as the pikemen and the knights keep coming. Okay, focused here for a long time now. What's going on the other side of the map? Looks like blue and teal engaged a little bit, but only a few camel corpses there. Wow, this is an insane number of knights from Monemon. I thought he was mainly camels now, but it's still got a huge amount of knights on the field. That's like 25 knights, and he's already hit the Imperial Age. He's the first player to do so, and we're going to see Cavalier and Heavy Camel straight away from him. I'm not sure how many camels. Oh yeah, he's still got quite a lot of camels, but about to lose them all really. I'm gonna say I'd have liked to have seen him. If he's going to click 2 things, I'd have liked Cavalier and Blitzbarding armor, but he's actually able to get all 3, so that's fine. And actually, ballistics. What is he? Chinese, yeah, making the Chukonu transition once he's done +4 Cavaliers. But Black Forest have had enough. J Squared is feeling kind of dead. What sort of resource count was he on? I could have clicked up to him, but I think he realised he was really far behind, and they just know how far behind Yellow is as well. He, as the pocket Chinese, he's been suffering such incredible eco damage right now, and I think really you'd have expected him to probably have clicked up to Imp by now if he was having a really good game. Almost ready to, but apart from the great push that Quark was doing against Cambridge on the left hand side, just feels like pockets and right flank versus pocket and right flank. ByT was so far ahead, and It wouldn't have taken much for them to kind of swing what was going on the left-hand side with some reinforcements there either. So you just look at this stream of death charging across the map from Cavalier, from Poxo, these knights soon to be Cavaliers. There's no way that all of this defensive economy would have been able to stand. Like, all these guys would have just been dead. Poxo continued to stream in. So great performance by ByT on their home map. Unfortunately for them, it doesn't do much other than give them a sense of pride. And it means that Black Forest, the German clan, will go through their group as if they are to be believed, if what one of the players in the lobby told me is correct, they'll go through as the 3rd seed in the next stage.